some of those children have a little extra Arabic number in front of the Roman numeral. The first child is Edmund Dalton, and there's a number 4 in front of his name. That means that later on in the article, there is another family group that starts off with the number 4, and it's Edmund Dalton, and there will be information about him, and his children will be listed. Okay? The third child is John Dalton. There is no number in front of the little Roman numeral 3 in front of his name. That is because there is no further information about that John Dalton. Everything that you're going to find about him in this article is right here. There's no point in searching any further. The record system, it comes from a similar periodical, and it's very similar to the register system. We don't worry about it. The Henry system is a pretty stupid one. It does not have anything to do with me. My name may be Henry, but that doesn't mean there's a connection. The guy, this is for descendants. The guy who's first is number 1. His first child is 1-1, 11, of course. His second child is 1-2, and so on. And if you go to the children of 1-1, the first child is 1-1-1, and so forth. It's a little bit cumbersome, and you don't know quite what to do with multiple marriages, but they use it. This is an excerpt from an article, and it is from the Mennonite Heritage magazine. They do scholarly articles, too. It's mostly Lancaster County in Pennsylvania. All of these numbers have an M in front of them. That's because that's a particular branch of the Miller family that this person was studying, but within that, it's this Henry numbering system. There it is. Okay, the use of the internet. You know, if you didn't have to use it, you probably wouldn't want to because there's so much junk there. But it does give you access to records. If you're talking about actual records, this is good. And it gives you access to library catalogs. This means that you can plan a research trip ahead of time. You'll know what they have there. So when you get there, you go there with a list of things you want to look at. You don't have to take the time to do that when you get there. And you use it to share information with other people. But most of the information, if it doesn't have a source, it's either somebody's wishful thinking or it's somebody else's opinion. But in any case, it's almost worthless. Do I need to repeat that? You need to be really careful about what you take off of the internet. It's gossip. It might be interesting, and you might want to look into it, but it's not a source. Okay, internet sites. There are a lot of, I'm just going to run through this. There are people who give talks about this, and there's a page in the back that has a lot of internet sites, and Larry can tell you everything there is to know about internet sites. Cindy's List, if you only have one, go to Cindy's List. The Family History Library, the New England Historic Genealogical Society, which has sources. We can talk about this later if you want. Heritage Quest, that's where you get census records. Roots Web, every state, every county will have a Roots Web site presence of some sort. Some of them are really good, some of them are kind of slim, but you have to go look. Archives, state governments will have archives. This is primarily to know what's there, to know if you want to go there. Ancestry.com, that's the largest pay-for-view genealogical site. People use it a lot. Citing your sources. You might think that I'm on a little hobby horse here, and I am. If you don't cite your sources, then nobody knows how accurate the information is. They don't know where you got it, they don't know who gave the information, they don't know how it fits in. It might be just wishful thinking. Why would you want to cite your sources? Well, suppose you wanted to go back to the same source. Suppose you wanted to convince someone that your information was reliable. So somebody else can go look. They might be tangentially related to the information you've got there. But they want cousins, so they want to go back to the same source to see what's there for them. You're going to get conflicting information. And so you need to know where pieces of conflicting information to be able to judge which one to believe. That's really important. We'll skip this part. Primary and secondary sources. You can figure this out. There are, two different kinds. The IGI, that's the thing that you get at the Family History Library in Salt Lake City. It's loaded with stuff that's not worth anything. Multiple versions of the same mistake. Okay. If somebody gives an exact date for a marriage or a birth, they might know what they're looking for. They could possibly have an actual source. IGI won't tell you what the source is necessarily, but if somebody says so-and-so was married about 1730, he doesn't know, he's guessing. And he doesn't have a source because he doesn't have a source. He doesn't cite one because there isn't one. So it's a useful tool, but don't believe it. There's a book. Oh, my volunteer has vanished. Can I have another volunteer? In the same place and find Elizabeth's book called Citation. They do call evidence. Where am I? It's white with black. Yeah, that one.
Citation analysis for the evidence.
That's the one. Evidence. Elizabeth Schoenwell. Thank you. They have a copy here. How to do it. They tell you everything you want to know. There's a joke I like in the beginning. If I'm doing it this way, does that mean when I write down that I'm the author that I have to cite my birth certificate as proof? You don't have to quite put that. Citation formats are in the book. And the summary, you need to have the summary. There are standard forms for taking notes. Don't just scribble things down haphazard. Organize your information as it comes in. Use the internet, but be very, very careful. And if you don't cite your sources, you're doing 10th grade genealogy, and I'm not interested. Do it right. Do it right. Evaluating information. One solid piece of evidence can destroy a hypothesis. Don't let that destroy you. You are not your hypothesis. Abandon it. Get a new one. Move on. You've got a good thing there. Don't confuse fact with truth. There's a lot of stuff out there that's written down. It's an official document, and it is fact, and it is wrong. Don't confuse fact with truth. If you're doing research at what is called the 95% confidence level, 1 out of 20 pieces of information is wrong. That's what it means at 95% confidence level. We try to work at 99%. I think public records are about at 80%. Right? So be really careful. There are probably 2 people of the same name in the town that you're working on. Assume that's true until you prove otherwise. If it has the same name doesn't mean it's the same person. Think about this. If you have a marriage date, did this woman get married when she's 12? There might be a problem there. Okay? So just think about it. Look for information that's not there, that shouldn't be there, especially if you have people moving. You have somebody who's born in some town, you have birth records, you have somebody else of the same name who died in a different town. Look for his death in the first town. If he died in that first town, you have 2 different people. Same name, who moved, wasn't the same guy who was born there. You have to sort that out. So look for information that shouldn't be there, because you might find it. And never give up. Never. I had somebody come to me and say they put in some queries in a genealogical magazine that currently put their stuff on the internet. He got a reply to a query 34 years later. You never give up. All right? All right, we're done.